On this week's episode, Raya and the Last Dragon roars onto Disney Plus. Just how good is IMDBtv? And is it time to be coming to America once again? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, including helping us out on Twitch with our many RPG game streams that we do. Also, as well, all the great interviews and so much more. Follow us on Twitch, follow us on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook. You can help us out any way possible. Please, it is greatly appreciated. And then also, if you can, check us out each and every time out right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. We've got special episodes. In fact, we dropped one earlier this week with WandaVision episode 8 and 9 thoughts from Noah Ian Fine and TJ Johnson, who will actually be on this show as well. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is from Castle PCC on the Twitter and Instagram. You got to catch him there at Instagram and the Twitter, Castle PCC with a K. It is my good friend indeed. It is the mastermind behind all the drone stuff that he's going to be delving into once again. Hopefully he'll even show it on Twitch. It is Marcus De La Garza. And Marcus, great to have you back for everyone's quick pop culture update for the weekend.
Yeah, man, it's great to be back. Big hello to the Pop Culture Cosmos family. Good to see you guys all again. And yeah, like you said, we've got some drone stuff going on. I ordered parts last week and this week both. I'm just waiting on things to come in. I like to dry fit things before I put everything together. So we'll be doing a stream when everything's dry fit and we can actually start soldering some things and get this thing programmed and up in the air. So it'll be fun.
It will be fun indeed. We've got a lot to talk about, though, on today's show. Another very newsworthy program. A lot of little news sprinkling out there this time around. Not the big, heavy-hitting episode that we had both on Friday and Monday, but there's a lot of cool stuff that's out there. In fact, we will be talking about all the movie releases that are coming out, both in box office and to video streaming coming up this weekend. We'll be talking about that. Also, speaking of streaming, how sneaky good is IMDBtv? We'll talk about that and throw that out there to you coming up here in the episode. Plus, we'll be talking about the Simpsons real quick. They got renewed again, and they seem to get renewed not for just one season, but 2 seasons. So they're up to season 34 that they got renewed to. So we'll go ahead and pay homage to them coming up later in the show. Also, as well, IGN recently brought out a list on the MCU of their favorite or who they think is the best heroes ever. We have issues with that and we take issues with it. So we'll go ahead and call them out a little bit coming up later in the program as well. Plus, we're going to be talking about a lot of great things, including a possible new Star Trek movie on the way. Again, will it come to fruition? We'll see. We'll talk about that. Plus more pushbacks for movies, which I know Marcus just absolutely loves to talk about. A movie getting delayed once again. We'll talk about that on the program as well. And PSVR announced some games, including the classic Doom 3 VR, which kind of intrigued me a little, but it's on VR. And even with the success or middling success of Oculus Quest 2 being brought down in price and being a brand new set, plus also an updated PSVR, we'll talk about, is this going to change anything as far as getting people's interest into virtual reality? But first up, my friend, it is this weekend at the box office. And now with the box office out there across North America starting to open up a little, including major states like New York, Texas, also as well, even a little bit of California as well. I mean, just all over from the east to the west coast. They're starting to open up little by little. Of course, in Texas, it's actually a lot more than that coming up here next week. But that's up to everybody out there on that debate. But I want to hear your thoughts. This weekend is a nice little battle that's shaping up between Raya and the Last Dragon, which is hitting theaters, and for a $30 charge, Disney Plus. You also have Coming to America 2 that is actually already on right now on Amazon Prime because it got pushed up a day. Interesting how that happens. Paramount Plus arrives, replacing CBS All Access on the 4th. There's also Raya and the Last Dragon, which is starting to be shown on theaters right about now as we're talking. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you know, Coming to America 2, which was going to come out on Friday, gets dropped Thursday. So we'll talk about that here in a sec. But I want to hear your thoughts on that. Plus, Chaos Walking with such a great cast. Mads Mikkelsen, obviously Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, just a great cast. Nick Jonas, because if I didn't say Nick Jonas on there, my one of my daughters would actually just bop me upside the head with that because she's a huge Jonas fan. I want to hear your thoughts on this weekend at the movies. Some of it's a hit and some of it's a miss.
Yeah, man, I think the two big ones we definitely need to cover here is Raya and the Last Dragon and Coming to America. Two big titles that were, set to be released here. Let's start with Raya and the Last Dragon, man. Really, really, really cool cast here. You've got Awkwafina, you've got Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose in the Star Wars movie, the recent Star Wars movies.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't come up with the name off the top of my head.
Well, I don't want to come up with a name a lot of people were saying when they left the theaters after that movie, but go ahead, continue.
It's got Benedict Wong in there. It's a heavy hitter when it comes to the cast list. We're really looking forward to it in this household. We actually might even pay the $30 charge to watch it this weekend. There's some big happenings going on around the country. You've got AMC, who's opening, I think it was 25 theaters across the state of Illinois this week or in the coming week. That's going to play big. And quick shout out to the Wall Street Bets folks, because that stock's going to be pumping up as those theaters keep opening up. So we'll see AMC, maybe a little GameStop continue to go up in that action. But getting back to the movies, Raya and the Last Dragon, going to be a big weekend for Disney Plus. Really looking forward to seeing the numbers on the other side. Gerald, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Disney Plus releasing their numbers as far as initial streams on some of their movies and stuff?
They're like all these streaming companies.
Yeah,
when they want to, they choose to. When they don't, they won't. And it's usually right around investment time, quarterly earnings, things of that nature. Then they tell you like 2-3 months down the line exactly the type of interest on it. The best place to go, I'm going to tell you right now, is follow Nielsen. If you follow Nielsen, how obviously the masters of going ahead and determining the television ratings out there that they still do even to this day. They are now trying to get the best guess on what's going on in the streaming marketplace. And Disney is starting to make a bigger and bigger imprint as far as the overall top 10, because it's still dominated by Netflix because of the fact that they do have 100 million subscriber lead on anyone else, including Disney Plus. But you're starting to see that imprint. WandaVision, Soul, The Mandalorian, they've all made their imprint into the top 10 of viewing and as far as interest is concerned and overall ratings. So you're going to see a lot of that this weekend. The only thing is we're going to gauge how this works again, like we did with Mulan with the $30 charge for Disney Plus.
Yeah,
that's a thing where obviously it worked enough to where they're doing it again. Whether or not they will continue to do it with Black Widow or in the Marvel movies or any animated movies coming down the line. Interesting that they went one way with Soul and they went one way with Mulan. For me, I think it was a much bigger success with the way they distributed for Soul because it dominated the charts in late December and all throughout January because it was free or just part of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly 100% behind the move by making Raya $30. I thought they should just go ahead and go forward and make it a better part of the Disney Plus experience, a free or just an whatever available part of the Disney Plus experience.
Well, see, and that's, I think, where I disagree with you. I think, having the $30 charge on a few of these movies is a good thing, just simply because, it keeps premium content premium, right? It allows Disney Plus or the studios to start recouping some of their costs on these movies right away, not just from the residual income coming in from the memberships or, the memberships to Disney Plus.
But that's the ultimate goal, is to get the subscriberships. It's not to
Right.
actually get the money up front. The ultimate goal is to keep you subscribing month after month. And if you have content that's there and available to everyone without having to go ahead and put it at a pay tier or behind a paywall, I think it just makes it much more attractive. I mean, what HBO Max is doing, I think, is in the conditions that are right now, is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, and that's I think it's just a different strategy is what they're trying here. Is they've got the ability to use some of their content to drive viewership and drive membership, and so if you make something exclusive, as capitalistic beings, we tend to want to spend some money or make some money off some stuff, and I mean, there's going to be that whole sect of people out in America that are just like, you know what, it's $30. Obviously it's great. Let's just go ahead and spend the money. So why not try and make the money off those people? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just, make some money off those people and get a little bit of extra money in your pocket. Disney Plus, not like you need it, but put a little extra money in your pocket. Let's make some better movies next year.
Well, it is getting pretty solid reviews, pretty good reviews. So people that are watching it or people that have gotten advanced screenings of it are very happy with the product, or reasonably pleased with the product, I should say. Let's get into the kind of middling action as far as what is thought of. And that is Coming to America 2, which has gotten mixed reviews so far. Coming to America 2 is the return from a movie that I truly enjoyed, and I actually saw in the theaters back in the day, and I thought was truly a special film, Coming to America. It does reunite Arsenio Hall and, of course, Eddie Murphy, playing all the different characters and all the different roles within the confines of the film, and bringing all back that nostalgia. And this is one time I think that nostalgia will work. I think for Amazon Prime, this was a win for them acquiring this movie. I thought Paramount Plus, this would have been a great way to start Paramount Plus, because I think this is a Paramount movie, if I'm not mistaken. And it's so funny that they start this network, Paramount Plus, on the same day that Amazon just says, you know what, we're going to show off Paramount movie right here in Coming to America 2.
Yeah, bold strategy by Amazon, just kind of raining on their parade. That's fine, though. The mixed reviews are really what's going to be the issue here. Does it detract overall from the Paramount Plus release? Yeah, maybe. And really, that's the business tactic that I think Amazon was really trying to master here, and they did. But mixed reviews. I was very surprised to see that Minneapolis Star-Tribune had an article about it this morning that I just glanced over, and they were talking about how Eddie Murphy, just not enough of him on screen. There's a lot of everybody else, and that's fine, but not enough Eddie Murphy on screen to really deliver the appearance that we were hoping for, with this movie. There's a lot of Leslie Jones in there. There's a lot of everybody else, and Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall even play other characters in the film like they did in the original. But it seems like the resounding review is, we needed more Eddie, we needed more originality, not just everybody else in the storyline.
Well, I think it's still, because of the nostalgia, it's going to get a huge bump up in the first week or two. And again, it's like Amazon is giving the proverbial finger to Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to not have a debut of your own network transferring over from CBS All Access, and then to have a Paramount movie debut on another streaming outlet. I understand there was a payment involved and they sold off some of their assets, but this is where, again, we see, like, for instance, with The Expanse on Amazon, where NBC Universal, and in this case, Paramount, one department is thinking something as far as getting a quick sale or a quick dump off to save some cash, and it just not seeing in the long run that, hey, we've got this startup streaming service which we want to go ahead and do, and that totally misses the mark.
Yeah, man, it's definitely bad planning when it comes down to the business plan for this one. I'm with you there. It's a shame to see what happened with it, because I think Paramount Plus has the ability to be an outstanding network within the next streaming network, that is, within the next 6 months. Man, I really enjoy a lot of the content. It's what do you do? What do you do if you're Paramount Plus? What do you do if you're NBC Universal? I mean, like, you've made
absolutely no sense.
Yeah, you've made terrible decisions on like a ton of properties over the last decade, at least. I can't imagine how much money they've lost just on The Expanse alone. If you would have put
for
any
NBC Universal, by the
way. Yeah,
way.
NBC Universal, sorry. But, it's jumping back to Paramount. It's just this is bad decisions here. Unfortunately, they're going to pay the price for it, I think. Their subscribership will be slow out the gate here over the next month, but we'll see them eventually jump on with everybody else, and they're getting everybody from CBS All Access anyways, aren't they?
Yeah, they're getting CBS All Access, plus they're adding in new shows like the Real World Reunion, blah blah blah, and all that stuff that they are adding in. Eventually they're going to have the Halo series from Showtime that Viacom said that it's going to not appear on Showtime, that's being moved over to Paramount Plus. Plus they're going to get MI7 45 days after release, and same thing with there's also doing the same things as far as bringing in some extra content and talking about new shows. But to not have Coming to America 2 as part of that opening, I think was a big miss for them. But you know what? Hey, they did it. They sold off. They took the quick buck and whatnot. But I want to get into the last part of the equation before we hit the break, my friend, and that is this Chaos Walking, with an all-star cast, including, again, Tom Holland, Mads Mikkelsen, Daisy Ridley, and Nick Jonas. Those are the big names in the cast, and this is getting roasted over the coals as far as the overall rating is concerned. This is a movie that's been on the shelf for a while, and for Tom Holland, this is bust number 2 because the Russo movie that he did, Cherry, I think Cherry is the latest one that he did as well.
Mm-hmm.
That one is also a bust for him. So that's 2 in a row for Tom Holland. Not a great sign, but then again, he's always got the Spider-Man movies he can lean on. But it reminds me, his arc is going in the same direction that Chris Hemsworth was for much of the time. That Chris Hemsworth, outside of Snow White and the Huntsman, really had a hard time creating a hit outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it seems like Tom Holland is starting in that same direction as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that because I think he is outstanding as an actor. But at what point do you start looking at things and you say, you're the common thread here? That being said, I had a chance to just briefly watch the trailer, but my wife really jumped into it. The comments I got from her were fantastic casting. The effects look beautiful. And this is a totally original storyline. She's really excited to watch it. That means we're going to be definitely jumping into it this weekend. I'll have a full review for you next week if we really want to jump into this one and talk about, whether how good it is or how terrible it actually was, and whether or not Tom Holland actually had that strikeout again.
I'm surprised we're actually verbalizing this, because if we're in the world of Chaos Walking, we would just know each other's thoughts, because the men on this planet know each other's thoughts. We have this if we're in the trailer, if you saw in the trailer, they're having like all these little special effects type deal coming out of their head, just emanating from there. If you saw that, I kind of found that irritating to me, a little irritating, like low budget kind of, but that was just me. But then again, this movie's been on the shelf for a reason. That's what those are the kind of movies I fear about, because rarely are they a success when they sit on the shelf that long. And it wasn't just because of COVID. This has actually been on the shelf before then.
Well, and you kind of start asking yourself, did they really not put as much into it, from a resources perspective, right? And really, yeah, you might be right. Maybe we are too excited here in the De La Garza household about this movie.
No, it's
maybe maybe we shouldn't be as jacked up as we are about it for the weekend viewing.
You know what? You love Ted Lasso. You again, and the rest of the world loves Ted Lasso. I couldn't really hang with it, but I'm the one that's wrong on that end. So I'm hoping I'm wrong again, and I'm hoping that both of you have a great time watching Chaos Walking. I really do. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. When I see these trends and as far as in the movie industry, and you see the history and how it goes, it's kind of hard to say, you know what? Oh my gosh, it's going to be just great and dandy. But again, I'm hoping I'm wrong when it comes to Chaos Walking. But what are your thoughts out there on Chaos Walking, Coming to America 2, and Raya and the Last Dragon, all coming to theaters? And coming to theaters in the case of Chaos Walking and Raya and the Last Dragon, and of course Coming to America 2, and also Raya and the Last Dragon coming to streaming outlets as well. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, if you checked it out this weekend, and which, if any, that you liked the best. Before we hit the break, I wanted to go ahead and mention we've got coming up after the half hour, Knowing and Fine from Honey Queen, talking about Tom and Jerry a little bit, just for a few minutes, and then TJ Johnson also for a few minutes talking about the underappreciated and animated movie you got to check out right now on HBO Max, Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. All right, and we're back for the break. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here at the PCC Multiverse. Again, we've got Knowing and Fine coming up at the half hour, talking about Tom and Jerry, and TJ Johnson talking about Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, which is now on HBO Max. Both are on HBO Max, so we're going to talk about that coming up in a few minutes. But right now, my friend, I wanted to ask you this: when it comes to PSVR, PlayStation Virtual Reality, they announced some games that, well, I guess I was kind of like a state of play, like the week after. Like they had the PlayStation State of Play last week, and I don't know why they just didn't include it with it, but they kind of made this a separate deal, and they kind of just like slowly trickulated out, almost like via press release. It was not that, it was kind of underwhelming, which is pretty much going into what I'm going to say here in a minute. But they announced some games. The Doom 3 VR updated version is great, but then again, that's a game from the 1990s, so I'm not sure exactly if you're going to, a lot of people will be interested in playing it, but I hear a lot of cool things on it, and seeing some footage hopefully will alleviate a lot of people's stress. But there were some other games that are also coming out for the PlayStation VR. But again, this comes down to very little support from major developers. We saw Hitman 3, which is a top-rated game this year, come out with a VR version that is not so great when you look at it, and I've seen a lot of footage of that. But your thoughts on PlayStation VR, Oculus Quest 2? I mean, you name it. They've got some great experiences, but the problem is VR has never come into fruition the way that a lot of people were hoping it would be, and kind of the way I thought it would end up. I mean, I just didn't think it would go over. It didn't go over in the 90s, and it's not really going over now.
Yeah, man, I remember walking through a Toys R Us in the early 90s and like seeing a VR system and thinking, whoa, wow, that's the future. And 2 years later, and it was just gone. Nobody was talking about it. I remember my grandfather pestered me about that for probably 7 years after we saw that thing, and just really, hey, Marcus, you want one of those VR systems? You better start working for it. And it was just like, man, they are dead. We don't need to talk about this anymore. And unfortunately, that's the direction that we're heading right now. VR is going back towards being dead again, and unfortunately, I think it's an issue of there was a high barrier to entry there out the gate, and lack of content. Man, it's kind of sad to see that no major studio really wants to take this on, but at the same time, obviously they've done the market research and they know that the money's not there yet. Some of this kind of comes back around to the fact that we're moving more towards lifestyle brands, lifestyle gaming. You want to be able to grab your Switch and walk out the door with it and go play it on your lunch break. You want to be able to play while you're riding the bus or commuting to work, whatever it is. And that's not something you can do with a VR set. The Oculus, what is it? The Go now,
or the Oculus Quest 2 or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can, some of those are wireless. You can do whatever you want with them, but there's just no taking those really outside of your home environment to me.
And it's not because of a price point, man, because these are now, what, $299, $399, sometimes even under $200 during the holiday season they were trying to sell it off as.
Yeah, and I get that, but it was initially an issue of high barrier to entry, where the VR systems were a lot more expensive than this.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's just, I think that created a black hole of, you didn't have enough customers. You didn't have enough customers means you don't have enough game developers that are interested in the platform, which means you don't have enough customers. And it's just a vicious cycle. It goes back and forth and back and forth. And, the PSVR is just the sacrifice that was made here.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens with the whole virtual reality genre. I think it's going to stay around for a little while. I think developers and publishers are still going to try to force feed stuff onto it, whether it's part of a game such as we see with Hitman 3, or whether it's its own experience that they just put right on the VR platforms. But I'm just not holding out hope, my friend. I mean, it's just something I've lived through the 90s when it was first, really trying to get into it, and I've lived through the period of now. I just don't see the allure enough to say, you know what, I want to go ahead and put all the apparatus on to get all the controllers ready and to try and experience it, because I don't feel I will be as immersed. In fact, the times I've tried it, I have not felt immersed enough to say, you know what, this is where I want to go to in my next gaming direction.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's the few times I've played VR, at home for Christmas, or at my wife's parents' place for Christmas. Somebody's got a VR set up, and you just you put on the headset and you go. I've enjoyed it. I know you and I've talked about it in the past that sometimes you get a little motion sickness. I've never had that issue, but I know that's a very, very, very common thing for a lot of people. A lot of times you hear, well, you'll get over it after a few hours of play, but I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want to put that, 2 or 3 hours of play of letting their body acclimate to the VR headset. At this point, VR might be really need to key in on augmented reality. Give me some Google Glass that will project things out on the real world in front of me, so I can see what I'm doing, see where I'm at in my environment, and I'm sold. But we've just need to develop the technology to be a little bit more robust, I think.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts out there on the virtual reality genre as of now, with the announcements of several new games on the way for PlayStation VR, and also the Oculus Quest Go or Oculus Quest 2, whatever you want to call it? We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Let's just say Oculus. There you go. We'll leave it at that. But my friend, before we hit the half-hour mark, and TJ Johnson, and also Knowing and Fine, talking about two things that they enjoyed on HBO Max in Tom and Jerry, and also Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. I wanted to ask you this. I was thinking about this when we were talking about Paramount Plus. We were talking with Josh. I was talking to Josh about Paramount Plus. And I was setting up, and it looked like it was going to be a nice opportunity for people to go ahead and get into it. And then, of course, all the different streaming outlets that have popped up over the past 2-3 years. And I'm thinking to myself, there's other alternatives out there. In fact, the world of free streaming, and I put that in quotations, the quote unquote free, meaning it's going to be with ads. There's still a lot of options out there. I mean, I joked with, I think it was Josh, about Sony and Crackle still being out there and still being alive after all these years.
How?
There's also, how? I don't know how, but yes, still how. There's also YouTube has a lot of movies that you can go ahead and pay for. I mean, a lot of stuff from the 80s and 90s classics like The Terminator and some other great pop culture movies that you can watch right now that's free with ads. There's also other ones like Peacock has a free with ads channel that gives you some limited content that's out there. But one of the things that popped up for me was an article that came up that says a long-running series on Amazon Prime that was now just escaping my head.
Bosch,
yeah. Oh my gosh, can't believe I forgot about. But Bosch, which was a long-running series on Amazon Prime, it was canceled, or actually, it was stopped. It was after 7 seasons, something like that.
Their 7th season comes out this summer, and then they're going to be doing a. It's not a sequel. It's going to be like it's a whole nother series, but it's got the same characters. It's like
yeah. But what I was going to say is, okay, it looked like for a while that it's going to end after 7 seasons. Amazon cut the rope on it, but they just announced this week that there is, like you said, a spinoff where Bosch. It's not going to be named Bosch, but it's going to be a spin-off series, but it's going to star the same characters in a little bit different format, but it's going to be on IMDBtv, which is actually owned by Amazon. Let's get that out of the way.
Yep.
But it's interesting to me when you take a closer look at IMDBtv, and in recent months, they've promoted it a little bit more, and a little bit more with the kind of content you get. And they have a decent array of content for a free network, essentially, which you are watching ads and things of that nature. But for a free network, it's something people need to take a look at because it has a lot to offer right now.
It really does, man. I honestly hadn't been paying much attention to IMDb TV until you sent me the topics last night, and I had to hop on real quick and start looking through their catalog. They've got some really good stuff, dude. Just right out the gate, if you open up IMDb TV today, on their main page is I've got to get back here. Meet Joe Black. You've got Mad Men. You've got the most recent 24 series, which wasn't very good, but we'll leave that comment back there.
Well, they have a mix. They have a mix of older stuff and recent stuff from the last decade, modern stuff that some of these other free channels don't offer. Like, for instance, the YouTube channel, it's all classic stuff from the early 2000s, 90s, and 80s. Here, it's kind of a broad mix of stuff, plus original shows that they're either have done, are doing, or going to be doing, like we talked about with Bosch.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's the really big kicker here, is they're starting to ramp up their production of their in-house stuff, and it sounds like it's gonna be good content, right? You know, and it doesn't hurt that they've got Jeff Bezos on their board now, and so they can do things like partner with Amazon Studios to bring things like the the spinoff of Bosch, containing the same characters, and really build their own brand on the backs of these characters that have really built Amazon Prime to be what it is. On top of all the other content that's on IMDb TV right now is Mad Men. And I know that can be kind of a divisive TV show. There's people that really love it. There's people that really hate it. But it's a very, very, very highly watched TV show, and it's for free right now. All 7 seasons on IMDb TV. They've got movies like Arrival and I don't know.
They've had one of my favorites, all-time favorites, Blade Runner 2049. That was on there, and I tell you what, that's been a great success for them, because ever since it left the theaters, it's been a great success in selling DVDs and also in streaming markets. It's been a very watched movie ever since. I will say that this leads me to another question, and probably this is the one we'll go ahead and close out the half hour on, and that is this. IMDb is owned by Amazon, and they're getting all this content, and they're all having all this content that's there. Why not just go ahead and combine it with Amazon Prime?
Yeah, there's something weird going on here. Maybe it's something with the acquisition that they've done. Maybe it's something about Jeff Bezos doesn't have really complete, total, I don't want to say ownership, but control over what's going on at IMDb TV. And who knows, maybe in the next year, we might see the acquisition here. We might see IMDb TV integrated for free with your Amazon Prime. We really don't know. I think that this is one of those things that business was moving too fast for the contracts were in place already. And so you just got to make do with what you have. So,
well, you can do that right now. You can go to Amazon.com and you can interlink with IMDb TV from Amazon.com. So yeah,
I did not know that, man.
I'm just what I'm asking is just, it's so weird that it just didn't say IMDb TV. We're just going to close you down and make all your content available on Amazon Prime.
That's weird, yeah. But at the same time, this gives them another outlet, right? Like it's the whole idea behind Target having, what is it, like 157 in-house brands, right? Like you need to diversify a little bit, and sometimes the best way to do that is just by having an offshoot studio or streaming platform nowadays that is pumping out a little bit of content that gives you a little diversification here. You can pump out some stuff over there that you wouldn't necessarily put on your main brand.
What are your thoughts out there on IMDb TV? Is it sneaky good for you as well? Let us know. Let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up after the break, it is once again Noe and Fine from Honey Queen talking about Tom and Jerry, and TJ Johnson coming up talking about Justice League Dark, The Apocalypse War. They're both coming up after the break. And catch both those programs right now on HBO Max, but they're coming up after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. Want to thank so much TJ Johnson and also Noe and Fine for stopping by on the program to talk about Tom and Jerry and Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War, which are both now available on HBO Max. Please go ahead and check out my previous conversation with both of them on the Wednesday show that we dropped on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel, talking about WandaVision episode 8 and what they're looking forward to in episode 9. But before we head on out, my friend, wanted to go ahead and drop more bad news for you, because I know you love it so much, my friend, on delays. And all right, what do you think Vin Diesel said when he found out that Universal is pushing back? Once again, it's just a month this time, but it's to the end of June that they're pushing back Fast and Furious 9.
I don't know. I have to imagine he was pretty furious at the studio exec when he got that phone call. But
I live my life one delay at a time.
Well, all right. So, I mean, look, delays are just the commonplace now. We talk about them nonstop in 2020. Luckily, we haven't faced too many in 2021. I hope we don't continue to face them. But You know, it's fine, whatever. A month delay on a Fast and Furious movie, not the end of the world, right? Like, it's not content that's going to totally shape my future, but at the end of the day, I want to be entertained. So give me those explosions next month, please.
There you go. Actually, it was originally scheduled to be out on Memorial Day weekend. It's coming out on June 25th. As of now, June 25th. As of now.
Okay, yeah.
But the one that really got hit was Minions: The Rise of Gru. Minions: The Rise of Gru. That one is the really one that got hit hard. That was moved back almost exactly to the day, a year, from July 2nd of this year to July 1st of next year. And I think that it's been a movie that I think was originally supposed to be on in 2020. So to give people an idea that it will probably be a movie that's been sitting on the shelf for quite a bit.
Well, is it sitting on the shelf, or were they still trying to finish things when pandemic first started and they just
Possibly.
they didn't? Yeah. And so if that's the case, that's fine, but if it's been sitting on the shelf for a while, how dated are some of the jokes? I feel like all the Minions movies have been pretty on point when it comes to
they make a ton of money.
Yeah, and they've been on point when it comes to the pop culture references. That's what I worry about. So we'll see what happens here, man. I think it's sad to see that we're continuing with the delays, but it's a side effect of the world we're living in right now. So unfortunately, that's what it is. But we just got to move forward, Gerald. It's going to happen. These movies will come out. It just sucks that we got to wait.
Absolutely, my friend. But what are your thoughts out there on the delays for Fast and Furious 9? You won't see Vin Diesel revving it up for another month on that. So it's been delayed to late June. Plus also as well, a whole year you have to wait for Minions: The Rise of Gru. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, there's still a little bit more to talk about before we head on out, my friend. A new Star Trek movie. Okay, stop me if you ever heard this before. But a new Star Trek movie is in the works again. And this time, again. Yes. So we've heard several different versions now of Star Trek movies in the work. One from Quentin Tarantino, which is supposed to be an R-rated. Then we've heard some other ones where they're going to meet Chris Hemsworth, who's Chris Pine, who's going to see Chris Hemsworth, who is his dad, and go back in time, a time drifting type deal. And then you have this one now, which is going to be written by Fear the Walking Dead co-executive producer Kalinda Vasquez, who in this article is looking like she was commissioned by Paramount again, to writing an original Star Trek movie for Paramount Pictures, along with, of course, J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot producing. And it's so funny because Bad Robot is now all over the place. I mean, we talked about him on the Monday show with the new Superman story that's in the works, and now we talk about possibly producing a new Star Trek movie. And of course, we know his past with the Star Trek movies. So I want to hear your thoughts. Do you actually believe that this will be the actual Star Trek film that hits the theaters?
This is looking more promising than not at this point. The fact that J.J. Abrams' name is attached to this one makes me feel a little bit more confident. Grabbing the did you say it was the writer from the Fear of the Walking Dead?
She is a co-executive producer, I think, from what I'm understanding. So but she is writing this.
Yeah, and to me that speaks volumes, just because she knows how to create a compelling storyline with Fear the Walking Dead, even if it didn't have as much success as we were hoping as The Walking Dead. But the first season I thought was still compelling. I really enjoyed that first season.
I got to talk with my good friend Daphne Matthew, who is so much of a Walking Dead fan. She's the specialist on that. She'll tell you enough about the Fear of the Walking Dead and the Walking Dead on that, because there is amongst these super fans, there is a segmented population about how much they like the Walking Dead and how much they don't like Fear the Walking Dead.
And I get that, dude. And it's just, you can't please everybody. Yeah. And so what it comes down to for me is the first season of Fear the Walking Dead was, to a casual fan, the people like me, it was very entertaining. A storyline that was very, you had some jumps, here and there, and really kept you interested in the season, or at least it kept me interested in the season. So looking forward to this Star Trek film. If it actually does occur, we know that it's going to have all the effects, all the great storylines, and if J.J. Abrams really is tied into this, or even just Bad Robot, generally, you know that they're going to put out some great content here. So,
well, we'll wait and see if a Star Trek movie does come to fruition, and if it's this version that's now being produced by Bad Robot and also being written by the co-executive producer of Fear of the Walking Dead, if that's the actual one that comes on the screen. Before we head on out, my friend, two last things to talk about. Simpsons getting renewed for seasons 33 and 34. Will this show ever stop?
why should it, man? I mean, like, you said they don't ever get renewed for just one season at a time. It's always two. This one will take us through 757 episodes. That'll be 34 seasons worth of content. And,
Is that all?
Yeah. I'm just going to say it right now. The Simpsons are going to call their own cancellation, and they're going to do it probably 2 seasons before they actually get canceled. That way we can say when they do get canceled, Simpsons did it.
And you know who's reaping the rewards? Disney Plus, because that's all residual stuff that you can get right there.
Yeah.
Before we head on out, my friend, there's a list that came to our attention on IGN, who we give praise for at times for doing a lot of great work, but sometimes they do things that make me scratch my head. And one of them is they created a list for the top 25 MCU heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So here's the list. 25, Wanda Maximoff, a.k.a. Scarlet Witch. 24 is Brunhilde, a.k.a. Valkyrie. 23 is Shuri. 22 is Clint Barton, Hawkeye. No love for Hawkeye there. 21, Karen Page. You're asking yourself, who is that? She is from the Netflix. She's from the Netflix Daredevil series. I mean, a lot of people are asking themselves, who is that? Literally. 20 is Rocket. 19 is Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier. No love for Bucky Barnes. 18 is Sam Wilson, Falcon. So hopefully this TV series will bring both those guys up, because I think they deserve it. 17 is Nebula. 16 is War Machine, James Rhodes. 15 is Jessica Jones, above all those other characters. Number 14 is Gamora. Number 13 is Phil Coulson, Agent Coulson from S.H.I.E.L.D. Number 12 is Nick Fury, his boss. Number 11 is Star-Lord. Number 10 is Matt Murdock, Daredevil himself. Number 9 is Peggy Carter, which was a big surprise to a lot of people. I love Peggy Carter. I think that was an awesome show, Agent Carter, for season 1.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I think that's a little high on my list right there. But Scott Lang with Ant-Man, aka Ant-Man, that's number 8. Bruce Banner, the Hulk, is number 7. Then we have King T'Challa, Black Panther is there. It may even be higher if you want. That sounds fine to me. Number 5 is Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. I think she should be higher. Number 4 is Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Of course, everybody loves Spider-Man. Number 3 is Thor, and that's because of Chris Hemsworth. He's done such a great job in the more recent times for the MCU. Number 2 and number 1 was a surprise. Now, they put Tony Stark, Iron Man, at number 2, and number 1 was Captain America. I like that, personally. I like that, but again, we all know this MCU wouldn't beat the MCU without Tony Stark. So I want to ask you this before we head on out. Got just a couple minutes left. Your thoughts on this list and any major changes you would make?
Yeah, this was a terrible list. And I can just tell you right now, my top 5 would be Iron Man, King T'Challa, Captain America, Spider-Man, Thor, and then the outlier 5th, Star-Lord, Peter Quill.
Well, I think you had 6 right there for you.
Did I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I did. Oh, yeah.
So you got top 6 right there.
Well, no, I mean, we'll take 5 with the alternate being Peter Quill. If something happened to Thor or Spider-Man or something, fine.
Black Widow's higher on my list. I mean, there's so many things I could do. I would just, if I was the editor at IGN who saw the series, I would just it's a digital. I understand that, but I would digitally just roll this up into a ball and throw this into the trash, because some of this love that they have for the Defender series on Netflix, I'm sorry, there's a reason why it's no longer on Netflix for a reason. I get people's love for Daredevil and the fact Matt Murdock is coming back to Spider-Man 3 and all that. That's great. But he would still be on the lower part of anyone's top 25, rightfully so, because he's not spent that much time in the MCU other than just randomly mentioning the stuff in New York, because they couldn't because of legal reasons. So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, just the love for these Netflix series. I mean, it's obvious you can tell by his list that happened, but again, a lot of these people that were indicated on this list on the lower end were they were wronged in no way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's even Wanda Maximoff should have been moved higher up the list. I know she has her own thing of like not being a hero for a long time.
Vision, where is Vision?
Where is Vision? Actually, good point. But seriously, though, Gerald, really, 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 really bad list here out of IGN, and they should feel ashamed of themselves.
Yes, they should, my friend, indeed. But what are your thoughts when you check it out? It's the IGN. If you go to IGN.com, and we'll actually pop it somewhere on our link on as far as the description in this podcast, it'll be the top Marvel MCU heroes from IGN.com. What are your thoughts on this list? Do you dislike it as much as we do, or is it something you approve of? We'd love to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. I know WandaVision, episode 9, the finale is upon us as we're talking right here, as you're listening to us. So any last thoughts on the way out?
Just that IGN really did Wanda dirty here and needs to just go ahead and drill the hard drives of the people that wrote the article for the top 25 best Marvel heroes, and just say that, hey, WandaVision, you're number one in our hearts, and let's do this. Let's really enjoy this last episode. I'm looking forward to hearing your discussion on Monday. And maybe I'm guessing Elwyn's coming back to give her final take.
I'm going to see if I can have Elwyn, Noah, TJ. I'm going to see if I can bring... Well, you're welcome too, my friend, if you want.
I mean, every now and then I do make my appearances on Mondays, so it might be...
You're going to hear from Josh. We're all going to be talking about WandaVision episode 9.
You know, I'm supposed to be at the beach this weekend, but maybe I could do a little pop-in appearance here and there. So
sounds good. We'll even tape it separately. We'll go ahead and do that for you right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So look for that. It's our spoilerific episode talking about WandaVision episode 9, and that comes this Monday right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Marcus De La Garza, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you agree.